Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to another time here. Welcome to another time at the book club. What we get to do on Sunday afternoons. We study through a book, discuss it, and see how we can bless ourselves from it. We've been reading through a book, The Good Life. That's what we've been on. It's our sixth book in the series. And we're presently in chapter 8 of it. So today is going to be our last reading in chapter 8, Family Matters. We're talking about the importance of family in the place of relationship. That's what we've been looking at. The whole book itself is just talking about how to have a good life. And the conclusion of the book is that the way to have a good life is by having the uh, relationship in the right facets of our life and having the right quality of relationship in those facets. So we talked about relationship in different areas of our lives. Today we're going to close out talking about in terms of family unit. Next week we'll talk about relationship in the workplace. That's what we're going to look at next week. So we're talking about a good life, and again, it's a book. It's written by Robert Waldinger and Matt Schuss. They used to be the lead at the Center for Adult Development at the Harvard School, and all they do there, the study involved just looking at adult development and trying to look for what makes for the right adult development. What's the optimum? How does someone develop as an adult in an optimum fashion that you can qualify, such as having lived a good life in terms of living long and well, right? It's not just the length, but it's the well, the quality of the life, having a quality life and having a long quality life. And like I said, this is a study that's been going on for more than 85 years. And the conclusion is that it's relationship. It's also having the right relationship, you know, the important facets of our lives, and also having the quality of those relationships make a difference in us enjoying being here. Now, remember that general saying where we're spirit beings here to have a human experience. To have a right human experience, we need relationship in our life. We need the quality of relationship in different facets of our life. And here in chapter 8, we're looking at the family life, having a good relationship in the interplay of our family setup. And family is not just blood, it's the different units where we can call family also, even though the real focus here is in the blood family. But we can look at family from different angles in terms of associations that we come to belong to, all right? So So pretty much we're going to be able to close out on chapter 8 today. It's our third time around. We've had two previous readings into this chapter. And this is going to be our closing of the chapter. We have Toba come along. Toba, how are you doing?
I'm good. Good afternoon, sir.
Good
And
afternoon. Yes,
Akin,
good. Hey, good to have you here. Our
thank
service.
fine, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So as I was saying, we're going to try and close out chapter 8 today. And chapter 8 just talks about family. It just says that family matters, and family can be pretty much basically by blood association, but that's not all that is family. Family is also by decision, by selection. The Bible, that famous part of the Bible talks about that God Himself puts the solitude into families. So that tells you that God is interested in people being a part of a family unit. That's God's idea, God's ideal for someone to grow. None of us has been created to live on our own. to thrive on our own. We need other people to make us whole. Is our place in Ecclesiastes who says two is better than one. When one falls, the other person can pull the other person up. When one is cold, the other person can warm that person up. It talks about a tree. It talks about others put out a three chord, is difficult to break, which we typically will give example in a broom. One stick of broom we can easily break, but when you have to try to break the whole bunch, it's about impossible to break. So we're stronger together. Not just alone. Alone, our deficiencies, can do us in, but together we're stronger. We'll see that also when we see our predictors, coming in to chase after a herd. They don't go for the ones in front, they go for the ones at the back, and they go for the ones that are weakest. If those that are weakest stay in the middle of the herd, and if everyone is watchful and defending each other, those predators cannot have sway. Irrespective of which herd it is, if everybody pulls together, the predator cannot have place. But predators get to pick one out, that stays away from the group. So therefore then that person is then exposed to be exploited. So the way God has made it is put us into families, so that our weaknesses can be supported by the strength of other people. And it's the same thing, the human body. Paul was writing about the body, and he's saying that if the small things, the things that looks weak, probably the things that are most important in the body. So the body grows by that. Each joint supplies. There's something that each person can supply or needs to supply that makes the body whole. And makes the body work and thrive as a unit. Enough of all of that. But this quote we've used to run through the chapter is this one by Jane. It says, call it a clan, call it a network, call it a tribe, call it a family, whatever you call it, wherever you are, you need one. We all need a family, whether it be our blood family or some other unit. Like again, the Bible says God puts the solitude in family. God's preference is that is our blood unit that becomes our original family from which we get our fundamental growth. But for several reasons, that probably doesn't work sometimes, but that's not the end of the world. Just like in marriage, we form new family setup that has no bearing on blood. It's a decision. You decide to marry someone, then you become a family, not by blood, but by choice, by selection. In the same way, individuals can select new people, new units, that can then become a family. It could be a church that you join, it could be a club that you join, it could be an alumni that you join, it could be a school that you join, it could be whatever. But the key thing is that you join a place where you have a sense of belonging, where you are contributing to and others are contributing to you, right? Like we get to say the definition of a healthy relationship is one which people come together because of what they can give, not what they can receive. But what keeps them together is what they receive, not what they give. That's the essence of a family. Essence of a family is not to go and drain people, but to go and contribute. But as you contribute, also others contribute to you and make you whole. But we all need it. We cannot grow to the optimum, of what where God will have us be, if we don't belong to some family or the other. That's the other place also scripture talks about that. Do not forsake the assembly of one another. It says, do not forsake the family units that you belong to, because we need it, just like again, someone will give an example, when you have that wood fire, If you take away just one stick away from the whole, the flame would die. But when the wood is together, the fire gets more red, it gets more hot because each wood is supporting each other to keep that warmth. And together the fire is burning brightly. But if you separate the wood from one another, the fire will go down. Right. You see, that fire stays because when we stay together, we help one another. Again, like Paul will say, the body grows by that which each joint supplies. Nobody's whole on its own. We all have our strengths, our weaknesses, our deficiencies, and when we are together, then we can support one another. We can help one another. When one person is in need, the other person is able to support, provide a shoulder. But that person providing a shoulder tomorrow might be the one that needs a shoulder tomorrow, and someone else can support that person also, you know. But when we come together as family, we get to influence one another, and that influence comes by, so the book talks about nature and nurture, hereditary and environment, parenting and peers are all tightly woven together, and all have served to mold each of us into the adult we have today, right? We are what we have because of either nature, those things that we were born with, those things that we grew with. So those things that we got passed on, from our parents or the people we grew our parents or just the unit we belong to, the environment we grew in, our parenting, the people we grew with or we moved with, you know. And the other thing about talking about this is, it's when you see someone, a child, sometimes you have good parents and the child is not the child goes wayward. Just the importance of this again is the fact that it's not just parenting that makes a child. It takes more than just parenting to mold a child. It takes more than, just what you say to a child that molds a child. It's also the environment the child is, what your child is exposed to. So it's all that combination that it takes to get the perfect or the right person, or bring up a child, that is able to have roots, that to have wings, to live his or our own life, So it's the nature itself, is how you nurture the person, the things that come through maybe by blood. But all of this, none of them stands on their own. One can affect the other. If one is negative, if you can use another side to correct whatever is negative, a child can have tendencies that might be hereditary, but by the right parenting, you can correct that seeming hereditary part in the child. Like they would say, people like from my own town are people that are stubborn, right? But I can't use that as an excuse, right? You can train a child such that even the seeming tendency of that child you can correct. You can help that child see the reason why being stubborn could get that child into trouble, right? By the right parenting, you can take away that seeming nature in that child, such that child is not defined by where that child comes from, right? Are we together?
Yes, sorry,
Uh,
I almost
oh, all
sorry.
right, great, great.
So that there won't be external. Yes, I'm with you.
Oh, great, great, great. So there are ways by which, we can, work on, because not all of us have the right uh origin or influence in our lives. based on where we come from. Some people grew in a negative environment, and then you want to correct those negative into positive. Some people grew in positive environment, but they get exposed to some negative things which could take away, their background. But we can walk on, the kind of influence, we have in our lives, and make it such that we set ourselves up to succeed. Like I shared last week, in at some point in my life, I just felt I wasn't set up to succeed because there were things in my life that were not working. For one, I was a shy person. I grew up a shy person, and that limited some things I could do. That limited my ability to make presentations. That limited my ability to stand up in some fora where I needed to stand up. That limited my ability to communicate. That limited my ability to make friends in some places. So I have to work on those parts of my life, which were limitations to all the things I wanted to do, I needed to do to be able to win in the marketplace, to be able to win in life. So even part of that involved me resigning from being a pastor, right? Because as a pastor, then I realized that in church, I was like a champion in church. I could do a lot of things in church, but I didn't see that, being produced in the workplace. I didn't see the equality or the translation of my spiritual life, in my physical life. And I felt I needed to work on me, So more than 2 decades ago, I did step aside from active pastoring, just to work on me, I'm glad and I'm happy with the person I've become, in doing that, I'm proud of who I've come to be in that process. But it took me working on myself, to become who I am today.